then companies say I am 8-bit. I am 8-bit. All they do is just churn out reproduction cartridges. I mean, they're literally the stuff anybody can buy. It's not anything special, and they charge you $100 for it.
So
I mean,
I'm glad we're kicking this around because as we were first starting the talk, we're like, nah, we'll never do this again. But then we're like, well, if they decide to do this,
okay, so Limited Run released recently. It was the SNES version, if I remember correctly, of Pod Racer, which is ridiculous because the game's dirt cheap anyway. But they released it. If there's some high cost game that you can buy from Limited Run, it's a no-brainer. Kind of like Metal Gear, not Metal Gear, Metal Storm from Retrobit. It's a no-brainer. R-Type 3 from Retrobit, no-brainer. I'll buy that over
hold on,
tracking one down in a heartbeat.
Back to Metal Storm.
Yeah.
Let's stop for a second and go back to Metal Storm. How much did you pay for
It was
that?
60. 60. The whole pack, 60. But I mean, I didn't buy the really expensive one. It was just the game. I opened it up. It was just like a good NES game, a new NES game. But I'm looking at Metal Storm. The US version, the loose price is $120. The limited run now goes for $75. That is ridiculous.
I don't know.
So basically, if Limited Run were to release games that were high in price, like Metal Storm, because I'm looking at it right now on price charting, and the game is 300. What was it? It was $200 and some dollars. $348 for the US version of the game. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Who would pay that much? I mean, I'm sure there's some, but I wouldn't. I'm not of the mindset to do that. And when I saw that Retrobit released it, I didn't buy the limited run version. I just bought it off of Castlemania. And I probably didn't even pay that much for that because the game was I always have Castle Cash. But when you've got stuff like Streets of Rage where it's available everywhere, one, it's not limited. Two, it's available everywhere else, which is why it's not limited. But everywhere else, it's plentiful, and it'll never run out. I mean, Amazon's going to have it forever. The limited run could have a very, very, I mean, I'm sure it's already prosperous, but they could have one hell of a retro resurrection if they were to release games that are no longer in production, very high in price, if they're able to get those companies to license their material. I mean, Streets of Rage 3 is very hard to come by now. That's the reason why I bought mine. It's just a cartridge and then bought a repro box and I will buy a repro manual. Streets of Rage 2 used to come with the console. It's not that hard to get the game, but most of them have not for resale on there. And then you have the original one, which was pretty much available everywhere. You couldn't fart without finding one, and they're readily available and not too expensive. But the example Nick was using, like Metal Storm, according to price charting, as I say this, the complete price is $322.48. That is ridiculous. I spent $60 for it on the NES last year, and that's it. And I got it in brand new condition. Now, it's not anymore because I've already played the game. I love that game. I suck at that game, but I love that game. The R-Type 3 is another expensive game. Now, you can buy that on Retrobit's Super Retrocade. Let's see, R-Type 3. I did a video on that one for the Retrobit version that I bought. It was $60. The Game Boy version, it's a Game Boy Advance, so I'm guessing it's a port of the SNES version. That's $45. But you know that's going to be neutered some way. Just like even the Contra games were. Totally think that Limited Run has potential. It's just, as it stands now, is not for me.
Yes. Until they come out with another product or service Yeah, right now it's not for me either.
If they make pressed reproduction Castlevania games for the PlayStation or Saturn, holy hell would they be expensive to buy today. Castlevania Symphony of the Night and Castlevania Chronicles are two very expensive PlayStation 1 games.
Yep.
And it's damn near impossible to find on the Saturn because it was, well, one, terrible, but it was
I keep hearing it was butchered.
it was butchered significantly, but it does have a special section of the game. But I mean, Konami, they're another one. They're just releasing stuff all the time from their old library. So that would be reasonable if they could reproduce that and then sell it as a limited run.
I think when it comes to the limited run, just now thinking about it, just having our little conversation, I think it has to be specific to you. If it makes sense to you, go for it. If you like what it's going to come in and how it's presented, go for it. I wouldn't tell you any different. I wouldn't say, "Oh, this is stupid. Don't waste your money." No.
Well, I would, but I think anything.
No, you wouldn't, because we just talked about it. If it had certain appeal, you definitely would, and I know you would. If it was certain games, you definitely would spend the money. I know you.
Let's say it were the Famicom Transformers, that game sucks. Run.
There are certain things that everyone will say, you know what, I think that would be a smart purchase for myself just because it makes sense. If they did something with Turtles, I probably would do it.
If they released that one and 2 in the arcade, I'd buy it in a second.
Hands down.
Yeah. Well,
hands down.
It's still cheaper than buying one of those cabinets.
Very much so. I actually just played it 2 days ago. It constantly gets used.
Yeah.
I don't think it's sat 1 month since we put it together back last October that nobody has touched it or played it.
Wow. Yeah.
Everything down here always gets used by somebody.
If you got this far, you probably like the video. Well, how about checking out some of these other ones? And if you like them too, please subscribe. Have a good one.